Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Wednesday morning, July the 24th. Overall, pretty quiet weather pattern across much of North America. We'll first take a quick look at the tropical scene of the Atlantic Basin. No activity at all. Even the Pacific Ocean for this time of the year is quite quiet. We'll take a look out there as well. The monsoonal season has gotten underway across the southwestern states. That will bring some decent rainfall over the next 5 or 10 days or so, and probably beyond that as well to the Four Corners region of the nation. Meanwhile, continuation of a warm, humid, unsettled weather pattern across much of the mid-Atlantic region, the Ohio Valley, the northeastern states. A couple more days of occasional showers and possible thunderstorms in the northeastern part of the nation. It looks like, however, strong high pressure will move to the Great Lakes by the end of the work week here, and then produce some dry, warm weather for much of the mid-Atlantic, northeast U.S. in that Friday, Saturday, Sunday time frame. First of all, here's a look at the tropical basin. No activity at all expected for the next few days, and perhaps for the next week or so. There's a little bit of a red flag here we'll talk about over the next few minutes here. One of the things I like to look for is high pressure building across southeastern Canada or the northeastern part of the U.S. Sometimes that allows for the movement of tropical systems to the west into places like the Gulf of Mexico, Caribbean Sea, southeastern part of the U.S. And that pattern is starting to show up at the end of the month of July and into the first part of August. But this is pretty unusual towards the end of July to see no activity at all in the Atlantic Basin. We'll go out to the eastern Pacific Ocean here, and these maps from NOAA's National Hurricane Center. A couple of waves, but not strong enough to be named storms right now in the eastern part of the Pacific Ocean. Then we'll go all the way out into the central Pacific Ocean. These are the Hawaiian Islands. No activity at all out there. So again, overall on a global scale across the northern hemisphere, quite quiet for the last week or so of the month of July. Only a couple of non-named storms right now in the eastern Pacific Ocean. Now, it's never too early this time of the year. We're starting to get close to the month of August, and it won't be long before we're getting into the fall season, and then, of course, winter to follow. I'd like to take a look here at the next 10 days in terms of total snowfall amounts. And again, it's something I'd like to start looking at this time of the year. Take a look at Greenland. Looks like a lot of snow here over the next 10 days, especially the southern half of Greenland. All these greens represent a foot or more. This is as depicted by last night's zero-Z run of the GFS. In the northern part of Canada, up in the Arctic region, a decent amount of snow buildup here over the next 10 days or so. We'll take a look at this as we get closer and closer to the fall season. Well, now let's take a look at the total accumulated precipitation. This is liquid equivalent, generally rainfall amounts here over the next 10 days, again using the zero-Z run of the GFS. Really, two areas of interest I want to point out. First of all, much of the eastern half of the nation gets a decent amount of rainfall over the next 7 to 10 days or so. The purples here represent 2 inches or more here throughout much of the Ohio Valley, the eastern Great Lakes, all the way down into the southeast and south central part of the nation. Plus, we have this monsoonal flow of air. When you see a pattern like this that shows decent rainfall amounts into the Four Corners region, especially in those higher terrain areas of western Mexico, this represents kind of a monsoonal flow of air at this time of the year. Again, the second half of the summer season does in fact have some monsoonal winds, general flow of air out of the eastern Pacific Ocean right into the southwestern states. Again, monsoon technically refers to a seasonal wind, and it's more famous in places like India, Bangladesh, where this time of the year you get very, very moist air coming in off the Indian Ocean, dumping tons of rain in that part of the world. Well, we also have kind of a minor monsoonal season here in the southwestern part of the U.S. and the Four Corner states, especially from Colorado to Utah to Arizona to Mexico, and even into parts of Nevada. You can get this monsoonal moisture, and afternoon and evening showers and thunderstorms tend to be enhanced this time of the year. So again, some decent rainfall amounts in what is normally a desert part of the U.S., but this time of the year, again, we can get some decent rainfall amounts in the Four Corners. Well, let's take a view of North America and take a look here at the 0Z run of the GFS, the 500 millibar height anomaly patterns. All the blues represent upper level lows, the reds upper level high pressure ridges, and there's right now a upper level low situated over the Great Lakes. It's keeping the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, the Mid-Atlantic quite unsettled, again with occasional showers over the next couple of days, maybe some possible thunderstorms, and some of the rain along that I-95 corridor certainly can be heavy at times. DC, Philadelphia, New York City, the showers and the thunderstorm cells have been rather slow moving in the Mid-Atlantic region over the past couple of days, and that pattern will continue over the next couple of days. That raises the chance, given all the available moisture, of some very heavy rainfall amounts over a given location. Now, let's kind of push forward quickly and take a look here at the upper level pattern. This is now into the day on Thursday, and then we go into the upcoming weekend. We'll have strong high pressure that controls the weather over the Great Lakes, the Mid-Atlantic, the Northeast U.S. in that Friday, Saturday, Sunday time frame. But look at this as we get into the early part of the upcoming weekend. Upper level low over Texas, Oklahoma, another one over the northwestern part of the U.S. And this kind of a pattern will prevent extreme heat in this part of the nation. Again, the south central states, Texas, for example, decent amount of rainfall over the next 5 or 10 days or so, and that will keep temperatures at a reasonable level. And also across the Pacific Northwest, same kind of a pattern here with decent temperatures and some rainfall over the next 5 or 10 days or so. Now, here we go through the weekend and into the early part of next week. And again, this is kind of an area here where I tend to focus in on with respect to high pressure ridges this time of the year. When you get high pressure ridging in the southeastern part of Canada, that sometimes allows tropical systems to move into the Gulf of Mexico, perhaps a little farther south, into the Caribbean Sea. The Gulf region has to be on a lookout with this kind of a pattern, this time of year. But this particular high pressure ridging is pretty transitory. It will move forward here. It may get a little bit more intense during the first week of August, second week of August, something we'll watch for. Again, it hangs around for a couple of days. Now we're going all the way out into the middle part of next week. This is a week from right now, the end of the month of July. Next Wednesday, July 31st, kind of a broad area of upper level ridging over the eastern part of the U.S., the eastern part of Canada. Look at this upper level low near the southern part of Greenland. That no doubt is going to contribute to some heavy snowfall in the southern half of Greenland over the next 10 days or so. Now we'll continue to move forward here into the early part of August. This is now the end of next week, and a lot of high pressure ridging showing up across Canada and even across the U.S. by this particular time. This is, again, about 10 days from now, the early part of August. And this is an area we'll focus in on as we transition from the latter part of July into the early part of August. Well, let's wrap up with the surface forecast maps from the 0Z run of the GFS. Again, a lot of unsettled weather over the eastern half of the nation. We saw that 10-day forecast map. It had a lot of rainfall. This part of the nation here, kind of a conveyor belt of humidity, high humid air moving from the Gulf of Mexico into the southeastern states and up into the mid-Atlantic, northeast U.S. Again, we have this monsoonal flow out in this part of the nation over the next week to 10 days or so. Now, let's clear these lines off here and move forward here. This is a strong high pressure system that sets up over the Great Lakes by the time we get to tomorrow. It clears out the Great Lakes on Thursday and then slides into the eastern states by the time we get to Friday. And right here we have a pretty nice period setting up here in that Thursday over the Great Lakes, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday over the Mid-Atlantic, Ohio Valley, Northeast U.S., thanks to this large and strong high pressure system. Again, this is 48 hours from now, Friday morning. And notice also moisture showing up here in the southwestern states as of early Friday. That's some of that monsoonal moisture. Again, the flow coming in off the eastern part of the Pacific Ocean all the way into Mexico and then ultimately into the southwestern part of the U.S. Let's continue to move forward here. That high pressure stays in control right into the upcoming weekend. It gets pretty warm by the time we're talking Sunday, maybe highs near 90, places like D.C. That's relatively normal for this time of the year, but that high pressure stays in control through the weekend and then slides off the coast, and that'll kind of open the door for warmer, more humid air to flow back into the eastern states by the time we get to the early to middle part of next week. Right here we have a southwesterly flow that reestablishes as that high ultimately ends up over the western part of the Atlantic Ocean by the early part of next week. So again, a rise in humidity by the time we get to the early and middle part of next week back in the eastern third of the nation. But in that Friday, Saturday, Sunday time frame, looks like relatively warm and dry conditions. Much of the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, Midwest, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast U.S. Again, that Friday, Saturday, Sunday time frame. Between now and Thursday night, occasional showers and possible thunderstorms in the northeastern part of the nation. Again, watch out for monsoonal type rains over the next 5 or 10 days or so across the Four Corners region. That's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, this has been meteorologist Paul Dorian.